We've got Phoebe Young, student paramedic. Nice to see another paramedic student there. Heather Turkington, who's a drama therapist, and Sarah Todd, who is, again, from paramedic background, works in university in an academic paramedic role. And it sounds like you've got quite a lot of experience under your belt in different areas. So I'll let you all introduce yourselves and get cracking with that. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Hi, everyone. So what I'll do is I'll get Phoebe and Heather to introduce themselves first. Just if you could, guys, just give a brief overview of your journey, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. I'll explain a little bit about what I do, and we'll get stuck into the subject. So, Heather, do you want to go first?
Yeah, just an introduction about who I am, yeah?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so my name's Heather Turkington, and I'm a drama therapist in Northern Ireland. Drama therapy is one of the 13 allied health professions in Northern Ireland. So really proud to be part of that community. So I am involved in a few things. Being in Northern Ireland, I kind of work within the south of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and have links to Britain as well. So I am the link person for BADth, which is the British Association of Dramatherapists. I'm on the council for AHP, which is the Irish Association of Creative Arts Therapists, and I'm on the board for AHP FNI, which is the Allied Health Professions Federation for Northern Ireland. So yeah, I'm kind of everywhere. And I work full-time as a drama therapist within men's mental health in County Armagh in Northern Ireland. So that's me.
Brilliant. Thanks, Heather. And Phoebe?
I have nothing half as cool as that. I'm a second year, so I've just finished my second year at the University of the West of England. I took a bit of time out before I came to university, so I took about 5 years, and I was just working at the time. Didn't even realise I wanted to be a paramedic until literally the year before, when I worked as a call taker for the ambulance service. And that's how I ended up here.
Thanks, Phoebe. So yeah, I have a bit of a longer history. I won't go into all of it, but I started my life. My first profession was nursing. Actually, I qualified as a nurse a long time ago, and then realised fairly quickly that it wasn't the career that I wanted to be in. That in fact I wanted. And so I joined the ambulance service in the 90s and worked in the ambulance service for 23 years. And then during that time became a specialist paramedic in urgent and emergency care. And then I started working as an academic at the University of the West of England, where Phoebe's studying. And I was program lead there for a few years. And then I moved into a sort of managerial position where I manage a team of academics, the paramedic team, and there are 20 of them. And then just recently, this year, in fact, I've started a new role which covers the whole of the School of Health and Social Wellbeing at the university. And my role is portfolio lead for student success and inclusivity. So yeah, that's my story. So I was going to ask some questions about your career choices. And so perhaps if we start with Heather, can you tell us why you decided to become a drama therapist? How did you get to that point?
Wow, that's a story. I wasn't aware of drama therapy for a very long time. So I had started off normally all interested in drama, did the whole acting thing, speech and drama, all the rest of it. But I knew that I didn't actually want to be an actor. I didn't want to be in the theatre world, even though I loved it. So I did a few things to try and figure out what it was I actually wanted to do. I did drama teaching. I had a community theatre company, and we toured kind of around England and Ireland, and we kind of did like issue-based theatre, basically, and workshops and that sort of thing. And still, I was like, there is something just not quite right for me here. There's just something missing. So I moved to Australia, and I was an actor there, and did a lot of healthcare work there as well. So I was, between my two jobs, I was like melding it, realize. And then I just decided one day, I knew I was moving home. I'd been there for 4 years, and I was like, I need to find out what it is that I'm actually missing. And a random Google search, I think I Googled drama and therapy, and then realized it was a job. So yeah, I realized there was a course in Ireland, moved home, did my master's. And yeah, I haven't actually looked back since. It is really, yeah, it's almost like it was made for me. I just adore it. So
Fantastic. That's a great story. Thanks, Heather. And Phoebe, what about you? You said you did a few things beforehand. So what led you to decide that paramedic was the job?
So I did quite a lot of I left school and I basically didn't want to go to university at that point because I had more exams and I couldn't be bothered with it. I was done after however long, like 16 years of education or however long you're in education for. So I ended up working in the outdoor industry. So I did quite a physical job, but it meant that because of the type of outdoor activities I was doing, I ended up having contact with quite a lot of paramedics through various incidents, hill walking, things like that. Like you end up in contact with paramedics. It's just part and parcel of the job. And just kind of watching them and helping with various first aid situations, I was like, maybe this is something that I could be interested in. This could suit me well. I could still be moving around. I wouldn't be sat in an office because that really doesn't suit me. But I wasn't entirely sure whether I could handle like all of the first aid side of it. Like basic first aid is very different to what paramedics can do. So I thought, well, how can I get more into this, get a little bit more information, which is when I applied to be a call taker. So I applied to be a call taker with South Central Ambulance Service, and I worked for them for a year. And then I was like, actually, no, I can handle a little bit more. Spoke to a lot of paramedics then. You have paramedics working up in the call centre. So I spoke to a lot of them, and through that, I was like, actually, no, this is definitely what I want to do. It combines the not working in an office with actually helping people and being able to make a difference to them.
Great. Good story. And it's funny, a lot of our students do come from backgrounds where they've worked in those sort of outdoor adventure type areas. It's interesting, isn't it, that attracts that kind of person. Yeah. So Phoebe, just actually, sorry, let's go to Heather first. So when you applied to university, what was it about you, do you think? Because drama therapy is a master's level program, isn't it? And that you said, or you wrote in your personal statement that there's only 4 universities in the UK who run drama therapy courses. So presumably it's quite tough to get in. So what was it about you, do you think, that made you the right person for them to give you the place?
yeah, so I think you every decision that you make in the run up to actually applying to the masters, it matters. Not to put pressure on it, it kind of fell into place for me. But I think, kind of doing things at school like psychology and drama, and always kind of like working in those areas, maybe in healthcare, maybe as like a healthcare assistant, maybe in activities, maybe as a youth worker. Those are all jobs that I did kind of in the run up to applying to the masters. So if you have a background in healthcare, a background in theatre, and a strong kind of meld of both, that will really make you stand out to be a great candidate for for being accepted to drama therapy. So yeah, I had both of those just because those were the two things that I loved. And I think drama therapy, as are all AHP professions, there's such callings that, you know, you kind of almost fall into it anyway because it's what you love. And that's kind of what happened to me. So I wouldn't worry too much about putting all the pressure on yourself. Just do what you love and kind of see what comes with it. But yeah, if you're definitely interested in drama therapy, make sure you're kind of following the psychology route and the drama and theatre route.
Advice, thanks. And Phoebe, just from the University of the West of England, how tough it is to get onto a paramedic course. I can tell you that, for instance, this year we had, just for our programme, over 1,000 applicants for 100 places. So really, really tough to get on paramedic science. So what do you think it was about you and your personal statement that made you stand out?
I really hope that everything I say you agree with, because you're one of the ones that looks at them. So I'm really hoping I'm not going to completely mess up here. So for me, I just kind of, my aim was just to show how much experience I've got in places that relate to paramedic science. So it's all well and good saying that you care for people or you can help people, but if you haven't got any experience or anything to back that statement up, it's not believable. So like even basic stuff, even if you haven't had the opportunity to do much work, like if you're applying at 18, things that you've done, volunteering things you've done. I volunteered from a really young age with the scouting movement. So just those experiences of working with younger people in that circumstance, having to care for them, having to help them do things, having to reassure them through difficult circumstances, things like that, like giving yourselves examples of caring opportunities, working in a team, because you do work as a team as a paramedic, especially with certain incidents you might go to, there's going to be a lot of you around. So just giving examples of those things makes a big difference, and linking them back and just really incorporating your enthusiasm for the course and why it is that it is you want to do this. It's not just a whim that you've decided to apply off the cuff. You've actually put a lot of thought into it. And you can show that through any volunteering you've done or previous work you've done. Exactly like Heather was saying, the things that you've done previously lead up and make your personal statement better.
That's really good advice. Thanks, Phoebe. We're going to talk a little bit more about applying for programs in a minute. And if anybody's got any questions, I know there's a couple have come in, but please do put your questions in the message box to the right of your screen. So, Heather, what makes being a drama therapist such a good career choice? What do you love most about it?
It is so much fun. It's a really, really fun career. And I think the most gorgeous thing about it is that you get to have fun, but you also get to be there at kind of really vulnerable healing moments for people. And you get to be there and see that kind of progression and see people make kind of connections in their lives, and how the medium of therapy or of drama actually kind of like really complements therapy and just leads to these beautiful revelations in people's lives. So yeah, that's probably what I love most. You know, you're doing sessions every day, but every day is completely different. Every client, every service user has a different journey. And yeah, it's lovely and an honor to be able to kind of go along with that. So yeah, I think if you have a passion for people and you love helping people, and having a laugh in your job as well, because it's not all really kind of heavy stuff. A lot of it can be, and you need to make sure that you look after yourself in that, because it is therapy after all, and you know, therapists need to look after themselves. We know that as AHPs, I think we all do. But yeah, it is just it's a really kind of rewarding, interesting profession, and that's what I love most about it.
Brilliant, thank you. Phoebe, I'm going to ask you a slightly different question. Can you tell the guys what they should expect when they apply for a paramedic program? What's the recruitment process like?
So obviously I applied through UCAS, which just seemed to be the easiest way for me to do it at the time. So you put a personal statement in with all of your grades. I was lucky in that I had all of my grades. I wasn't sitting anything. But if you are currently still sitting access courses or A levels, then you just put them in as provisional grades. And then once your personal statement's got in, you receive offers for interviews for whichever universities you've applied to. So you apply through UCAS, you apply for up to 5, and then you can apply to additional ones, but I'm not entirely sure how that works. And then you get offers back from interviews for those ones. Then you'd go to an interview. A lot of the universities run interviews quite similarly, but they're like vary ever so slightly. So I've done group interviews where you've got 6 or so people and they give you different scenarios to discuss, just to kind of get an idea of how you would react to things, the kind of points that you think are most important when attending to patients. Nothing that you need to already have knowledge about, more to see how you react as a person, your personality, rather than how much you know about the heart, for example. And then some of the interviews are individual ones. So I did a round robin one. So you had 4 different people you had to go to, and they'd each ask you something slightly different. Some of them were just finding out what you knew about paramedic science, some of them how you reacted to scenarios again, some just a bit more about what you were expecting from the course. So it's a good idea to have done research about the course you're applying for and that university and how they support you. And then once you've done your interview, some places get you to do maths and English tests, but I didn't apply for any of those courses, so I can't give you any more information on that. And then after the interview, it's a case of going home and waiting to see if you've been successful. And then you normally get an email through from UCAS or from the university to let you know that you have or haven't been successful.
Great, thank you. And Phoebe, just thinking a bit further down the line, and I know the answer to this, but other people might not. What's the course like? Is it hard work?
I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it's really hard work, but it's 100% worth it. So there's quite a lot of juggling. You do have to be good at time management, just juggling your things like your assignments due during placement blocks. So you need to be like on top of it. You can't really leave it till the last minute. You need to be on top of all your assignments, on top of your learning, because the learning that takes place during your blocks at university is then immediately applicable on your placement blocks. So having that knowledge and really cementing it rather than just being like, oh, I'll look at it later, is really important. So it is hard work. You do have to be on top of it all the time. You can't do like 2 hours work a week. That's just not enough, because the more that you study, the better you find placement, because then you find that you can apply it and you learn so much more by being like, actually, I understand what's going on with this patient. I can work it out from what I've already learned. And that's so rewarding as well. So although it is really hard work, it's so rewarding when you realize, actually, I know what's going on here and I know how to treat this patient and I know what we need to do. And that realization of you going, I can do this, is absolutely fantastic when it comes.
And of course, Phoebe is the model student. Brilliant. That's great. Thank you, Phoebe. Heather, what was the recruitment process like for drama therapy? What did you have to do?
I applied when I was still in Australia. It all seems such a blur to me now. It was 2018 I applied. Now, unfortunately, my course that I went to was in the south of Ireland. It's not in existence anymore. It might be different for universities in the UK, the kind of recruitment. I know for my course you had to be 24 or over, and you had to have a degree already. So like an undergrad degree, because it is master's level. Now I'm not sure if that's the same for the universities in the UK. They probably maybe have their own rules about that. But I sent in kind of just an email to the course leader, found her online and picked her brain, just kind of finding out a bit more about drama therapy, because at that point, all I had done was do a Google search and found out it was actually a job. So once she came back to me and I realized, yeah, this is it, I sent in the application just through the university website, and I got an email telling me then a few weeks later that I was to attend like a day. And there was going to be a group of applicants there. We did like almost like an audition day, like an interview process day. Part of it was kind of a one-to-one interview, and then also we did a lot of kind of group stuff during the day, almost like an introduction to drama therapy, because not many of us at that point knew a lot about it. We just knew that we were really interested in it, and that's one of the things about drama therapy. It's not as well known as I would like it to be yet. So there's still a lot of education around that and promotion of the profession happening until that kind of takes hold. So yeah, then after that, we did an essay. We actually did an essay on that day. We were given a question, and we did an essay at the end of the day. And it was all very intense, actually, looking back at it now. I haven't thought about this in years. And yeah, then a few weeks later, I got an email through kind of the university system telling me that I had been accepted. So yeah, I think that was about March, and then I April or May, I think it was, and then I started in that September. So yeah, it was intense actually looking back on it. When you asked the question, I was like, oh, it was grand. And then actually in the course, maybe I should kind of say a bit about the structure of it as well. Because there are a good few things that need to be done during your 2 years, and it's full time as well. So you have to be in group therapy, and you have to be in one-to-one therapy. And our university supplied the group therapy, although it wasn't included in the cost. And then we had to find our own therapy just in our own areas, like our one-to-one therapy. We had to have supervision, because obviously we were on placement for a lot of our time there. I'd say it was about a third of our time. Actually, we were on placement. So we had supervision the whole time, and that's something that kind of obviously goes into your professional life as well. And yeah, I think you really just have to be aware that you're kind of built from the ground up again, because you're in therapy yourself. So you're going through a whole lot of stuff in becoming a therapist. And yeah, it's a very intense process. You get very close to the people that you are on the course with. Usually not too many on your course. There were 15 on ours. So yeah, and we all kind of obviously practiced on each other. So there's that kind of level of just trust and closeness and working through things together that kind of happens over the 2 years as well. So yeah, like I said before, you really have to get in time for yourself, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Obviously, we have the thesis at the end, our 20,000 words, which was delightful. We got to choose our topics, which is lovely. And we had kind of coursework throughout the whole thing, as well as kind of practical exams, which again was on each other. So yeah, very, very intense process, 100% worth it if it's what you want to do.
Fantastic. Thanks, Heather. So the last bit, I suppose we've got 5 minutes left. I think might be useful to cover personal statement writing. And you both have already mentioned a few things about your personal statements. And I actually picked the brains of my admissions tutor just before the other day, so that I could be prepared for this. And so she's the one who sifts through the 1,000 applicants to pick out the roughly 450 that we interview. And she gave me some top tips, which is things like, what is it? Why do you feel passionate about the career choice? And you know, the main thing about your personal statement should be to show your passion for that profession and you know, why it's important to you. To let your personality come through, but still write formally, not casually. If you have, do you have study plans, or where do you plan on your future going after you've finished studying? Have you got an aim, you know, post graduation? Research about the profession. Definitely look into it. Make sure you know about it. Make sure you know about what the pitfalls of the profession are. My dog's just wandered behind me. Sorry about that. What else? Talk about as Phoebe said earlier, talk about the transferable skills that you've got. What have you already got that we're looking for as either a drama therapist or a paramedic or any of the AHP professions? You know, what experience have you got that aligns with that profession? Make sure you get your personal statement proofread. That's really important. Get somebody who hasn't looked at it for the last, you know, however long you've been working on it, so that they can check out the spelling and the grammar, because that, you know, that can detract from the quality of the content if there's too many mistakes in there. Read it out loud to somebody. Does your passion come across when you read it out loud to somebody? And one thing she said was don't mention the university that you're applying to, because if you're applying through a place like UCAS, it'll be a generic application. And, you know, if you say, oh, I definitely want to go to the University of the West of England, that might put other universities off taking you. So, you know, keep your options open. And just revisit your personal statement finally, just before you go to interview, because you might get asked questions about it. So it's worthwhile remembering what you wrote in your personal statement. So Phoebe, would you have any other suggestions about personal statement writing?
To be honest, like everything you said was kind of what's been told before I applied. I think the big thing is definitely make sure that it is you. It's not your mum's, it's not your dad's, it's not your friend's. It is your personal statement, because otherwise when you turn up to interview, you won't be what they expected, because you're not what your personal statement's put across. So don't let it hide who you are, just to try and make it formal, not formal, just to try and make it so that you get in, if that makes sense.
Heather?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you said there. I always think that it's a bit strange having to parade yourself in a personal statement, and I find it very difficult to do that sometimes, because you go around just being like, oh, I haven't really done much, and then you have to like list it and you're like, oh gosh, no. You have to think about it. But you know, do not kind of hide yourself under a bushel. Like, think about all the things that you've done and put them out there, because there are things that I wanted to put, or that I thought, oh gosh, no, I shouldn't put that on, that's nothing. But you know, other people were like, Heather, you need to put that on, that's part of who you are, that's part of your experience, that's part of your journey, and it's actually quite impressive. So other people can kind of see different viewpoints of your journey that maybe you're not able to. So definitely check it over with people, and make sure that you put every little achievement in there, even if you don't think it's, even if you kind of forget about it, just think about every single thing and think if it's relevant and go for it.
Okay, so George, you've just popped up. Do we have to finish, or we?
No, I was just gonna. You know, there's a bit of time at the end for questions, so do feel free. Phoebe said she's having some issues with her internet, so thank you very much, Phoebe. If you do drop off, then we're aware of why that is. But no, happily carry on, because we're going to have a break shortly anyway.
Okay, brilliant, thanks. So we've had a question about Berenice has said, really interesting stories. Thank you for sharing. For speech and language therapy, head over to our exhibition booth or take a look at the link she's put in the box there. GR Sai has said, how would you recommend final year university students with little work experience looking to apply for healthcare master's courses, for example, radiation physics? So Heather, you'd be perfectly placed to see if you can answer that one.
So what's his experience? Sorry.
Final year university student with little work experience looking to apply for a healthcare master's course.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's very much where your personal journey comes in. So think of anything that you've done from, you were kind of even in school voluntarily. So any kind of organizations you've been involved in that might kind of help out with that. Also, I do think that people are looking for people who are passionate as well, because I do think all AHP or all allied health professions are callings, and yeah, if your passion comes through in your application, if you do your reading, so if you don't have much work experience, try and get some. Even if it's on a voluntary kind of level, do it now, go for it, because on your application that will look great, that you are currently in that kind of role, or have just kind of completed something like that very recently. That will go very, very well in your favor because it's so current. So there's no time like the present to kind of start to get that work experience. Do your reading, do your research, and that will kind of all meld together to hopefully get some sort of success also in your past as well. Like I said in the last question, that you might not even think of, like off the top of your head. Dig deep.
That's really good points. And just to add to that, I think if you can think about why you feel passionately that this is the right career choice for you, and you can get that down on paper, that's going to also add to the to your statement. So just think about, what is it that's really driving you to do this particular profession. I think we don't have any further questions.
There was one about getting work experience. What sort of is in particular that you'd recommend for healthcare in general? Any type of experience? You mentioned there volunteering. Have you got any suggestions with regards to that?
So with regards to entry level?
Yeah, so that's in general, in terms of getting into a healthcare course. This one's in relation to a master's course. But what sort of experience is beneficial?
Okay, so when I came home from Australia, I had worked in healthcare there, just kind of with one-to-one kind of sessions with people, and support work, that sort of thing. I came home, I went straight into a care home with mental health because I knew I wanted to work in mental health. It's those little kind of steps. And I worked as a care assistant for a couple of years and built up kind of a rapport with that company and those people. If you kind of make these connections, slowly but surely, these connections will really, really do you well in the future. So I got in by being a healthcare assistant, and then kind of going towards the activities kind of direction. So you slowly but surely go towards the type of work that you want to do. But yeah, I started as a healthcare assistant, and that was my beginning in healthcare.
And I think for any healthcare professional course, if you can demonstrate that you've worked or volunteered in any of the caring professions, whether that be with the elderly, with tiny small children in a nursery, or schools, or care homes, or people come from all sorts of different walks of life and with different sorts of experiences, but what they tend to have in common is that they've wanted to look after people. Even the service industries, you know, bar staff, waiters and waitresses, it's caring about people and giving a good service, isn't it, at the end of the day? Yeah, if you really want to sort of stand out, I would say working in care homes is particularly valuable because of the type of experience it gives you. And, you know, with, you know, if you think about the population and where it's heading with a much older population and much more dementia and Alzheimer's are much more common. And, you know, experience of working in those sorts of areas is really valuable. Mental health is another huge area of practice for, you know, all the healthcare professions. Paramedicine, you know, is no different. We are very you know, a lot of our work is generated through people who have mental health problems. So areas that you might not immediately think of are still valuable experiences if you're caring for people.
Definitely. I think, you know, like you said about sort of mental health things, people perhaps don't think of that, first of all, when they think about the paramedic profession. And I think with any healthcare profession, if you can sort of take your time and step back and show a real understanding of the type of work that you'll be doing. And it's similar with the personal statement. I found it really useful to start quite a while in advance. And it gave me time to think about how I could relate some of the things that I'd done to perhaps the NHS values. It's, you know, it's worth tying and things like that to the statements. But it's been really interesting. Obviously, Phoebe's just gone, but especially to hear the perspectives from you two about the application process from the side of a student and university staff. I remember that was a particularly, you know, it can be quite a challenging time with the application process to university. And it's great that support's there. With regards to work experience, we've got elsewhere in the conference, there is sessions on work experience, and they will all be recorded and available online afterwards in case you didn't catch them live. Obviously, we appreciate that it's difficult to get work experience at the time, so there's advice, you know, regarding the current challenges people are facing with that. Was there something you wanted to say, Sarah?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Heather actually about whether there's a central online resource for drama therapy that people could go and have a look at, because, you know, there may be people who are really interested in that now that you've spoken about it and want to go and find out more.
Yeah, so in the UK, the organisation that I'm a link person for is BADth, the British Association of Dramatherapists, and their website is www.badth.org.uk. And then, so if you're in Ireland, if there's anyone from Ireland here, it's IACAT, and that will be IACAT.ie, IACAT.ie. That's their website. There's also Dramatherapy Northern Ireland on Facebook, and I'm one of the moderators on that. So if anyone's kind of from the north here, Northern Ireland, you can pop over and ask us questions there.
That's great, thank you. And for paramedics, anyone interested, there's the College of Paramedics website, but your local ambulance trust will also have an open website that you can look at wherever you are in the country. So have a look at those.
Brilliant. We'll wrap it up there then. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. And do thank Phoebe. Obviously, she's had to get off. We would ask if you would like to join the Speakers Lounge just for a bit of a debrief with the tech team and to chat in there momentarily. But if you're happy to leave the stage, then that was absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, George.
We'll move on with the programme. Thank you.
And thanks, Heather.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.